Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Anyone in the chat can hear me, just push one. All right, we got a confirmation from Mega Montana. Thanks for the confirmation. Thank you. And welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is Black Tech Talk, episode 366, code and chat. Hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. And as always, we offer IT mentorship. If you're trying to get into IT and need a path and some guidance, we offer that. If you're trying to transition from one IT role to another, we also offer IT coaching in that area. If you need your resume looked at and salary negotiations questioned and questions answered, we offer assistance in that area as well. If you want to join the panel, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. And when you click on the link, make sure that you raise your hand so one of us can acknowledge you to bring you onto the panel. If you don't raise your hand, you're going to be sitting there for quite some time. All right. So I had some emails the last 24 hours asking about coding schools and coding camps and just coding in general. So I just wanted to make sure I covered this for everyone because it seems to be a lot of questions about coding. I think a lot of people might be confused about coding and the role that it plays in IT. So let me read this article real quick. I don't think this is going to take long for us. All right, this one is from hackernew.com. Seven best courses to learn web development for beginners. Yes, it's never too late to learn web development. Hello all. If you're thinking to learn about web development or want to become a web developer, then you have to come to the right place. In this article, I'm going to share some of the best online courses you can take to learn web development in depth. But before that, let me congratulate you for making a wonderful decision. Web development is an exciting field, and the web developer is always in demand. Learning web development itself is not difficult, but there is so much resource. I should have said so much resource on the internet, and you can easily get lost if you're not careful. And that's where I can guide you and help you in your journey. There are too many things to learn, but you can choose your path by picking one tech for front end and one tech for back end. If you have to choose just one language, JavaScript can do both front and back end development. I love learning, and for the most part of my life, I learned by reading books, but ever since I came across online courses on Udemy and Pluralsight, I have spent most of my time learning through online courses. They are the best way to start with the new technology and get yourself up and running in no time. I have been sharing a lot of good online courses to learn new technologies, frameworks, and libraries recently, like in the last article, and I have listed down top 5 Java 9 courses today. I'll list down the top 5 web development courses from Udemy, which I have bought recently. back to whatever, talking about web development, things that have changed a lot in the last 5 to 10 years. Gone are the days when knowing just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript was enough. They are still essential, but not enough. You also need to learn modern web development frameworks like React, Angular, Bootstrap, etc., to develop modern web applications. These frameworks have made web development more structured and organized. They also allow you to build from just a single page web application to full-fledged real-world web applications like Facebook, Airbnb, and Uber. If you have interest in learning cutting-edge technology like React, Spring Web Flux, Redux, Angular, Bootstrap, and then these web development courses are good to start with. You will get exposure to many client-side and server-side technology by going through these courses. If you are a regular reader on this blog, then you know about my 3-point formula to learn a new technology or framework, which I have used to learn many technologies in the past, like Git, data structure, and algorithms, Hibernate, and now I'm using Technique to learn Kotlin, Docker, and Android to upgrade my technical skills in 2019. You should generally start with a good online course, which will help you understand the most important part and gain some hands-on experience, like how to set up web development environment and build some simple applications. Once you understand the fundamentals, you can read a book to get more comprehensive coverage of all of the concepts covered in online courses in something which has not been covered at all. After completing the book and online course, you should be able to develop a real-world application to uh, test your knowledge and fill the gaps in your learning. This is poorly written. Anyway, here is my list of some of the best online courses you can take to learn web development in 2019. These are great courses and teach you a lot of essential web development technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, as well as the framework you'll be using to develop your web apps like React, Angular, Bootstrap, etc. Number one, the Web Developer Bootcamp. If you need to buy just one course to learn web development, this should be it. This course will teach you many key web development technologies like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node, etc. This course is designed in bootcamp style and run by a former bootcamp instructor, and you know how costly those bootcamps are. Cost you anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000, and you get that in just $10 and $10. Amazing. This course is also unique in the way that it's structured and presented. It's not like other online courses where you just watch instructor coding. This is really, really poorly written. It's most interactive and mix of theory, session, exercise, demo, and research assignment. In short, the best course for beginners who want to learn web development from scratch. The Advanced Web Developer Bootcamp. This is sort of the next phase of the previous course, where Coach Steele, the author and former bootcamp instructor, will teach you advanced web development technologies like React 16, Redux, V3, ES 2015, testing, CSS, Flexbox, animations, SVG, Ajax, etc. The best part of this course is that you will make real web applications using cutting-edge technologies. You will build over 10 projects and have dozens of code languages with solutions to understand the material to learn how to apply it. In short, a perfect course for web developers who have basic understanding of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and want to explore more advanced concepts and technologies to become more successful in their career. The Complete Web Developer Course 2.0. This is, again, an excellent hands-on web development course where you will learn key web development technologies by building websites and mobile applications using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, Python, MySQL, and more. You will not only learn fundamental technology like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but also more advanced technologies like jQuery and Bootstrap. This course teaches you to end web development like writing both client and server-side code. You will also learn how to build your own responsive websites using more advanced techniques such as jQuery, PHP 7, MySQL 5, and Twitter Bootstrap. The complete JavaScript course, build a real-world project. JavaScript is one of the most important technology for, this is so poorly written, I'm sorry, for a web developer, and that's why I have included one full JavaScript course on this list. Starting as a pure client-side solution, JavaScript now allows you to build a full application without any other technology. A framework like Node.js makes it easy to create server-side application using JavaScript. You'll learn about coding and debugging techniques. You will also learn how to organize and structure your code using modules and functions. In short, one of the best course to learn JavaScript in depth, the most popular programming language in the world. Angular Complete Guide. The Complete Guide to Angular will teach you everything you want to know about Angular. You just can't leave anything in terms of web development, which is backed by Google, and Angular is one of them. This course will teach you how to master Angular and build awesome reactive web apps with the successor of Angular.js. Though you don't need to know Angular 1 or Angular 2, the course starts from scratch. From setup to development, this course covers it all. You'll learn about components, directives, services, forms, HTTP access, authentication, optimizing in Angular app with modular modules and offline compilation, and much more. This is really a poorly written article. All right, number 6 is web development by doing HTML, CSS from scratch. This free online course will introduce you to 2 pillars of web development, HTML and CSS. Among other things, you will learn foundation role of these pillars and how they fit together to form websites. All right, number 7 is foundations of front-end web development. This is an excellent free online training course on Udemy to learn front-end web development from scratch, as it will not only teach you all essential technologies, libraries, frameworks for web development, but also show you how to use them effectively by building real projects. To become a good front-end developer, you not only need to know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, but also leading frameworks and libraries like Angular, React, and Bootstrap. So all of these links, let me see. Yeah. All these links point to the applications that, not the applications, but the Udemy courses that are available. As you can see right here. So it's Udemy site, and this is the course that's available. You see it has 4.5 stars, $19.99, 30.5 hours of on-demand video, 143 articles, free lifetime access, and certificate of completion. So that's just an example. But let me let me get to this next article. All right, let me just get to this one. All right, this one's from medium.com. How to learn any new programming language quickly, an essential checklist of fundamentals. This article assumes you already know at least one programming language. However, the concepts here will help you get started with programming. When I was in school, a teacher told me something I share with new developers. The hardest programming language you'll ever learn will be your second. Don't let this be disheartening. It means that when you first learn how to program, you will have all of these preconceived ideas about programming. You end up making more syntax correct connections and assumptions than you should. Because of this, you have to learn these assumptions when you learn your second language. Try to keep this in mind if you're attempting to learn your second language or even your third. Anatomy of programming. There are a lot of programming language, easily over 5,000, but the TOB index lists the top 250. All of the top 20 languages that aren't unique cases will have similar standard libraries. I think the best way to think about programming is to strip out all of the extra stuff so you're left with only the necessities. Every aspect of the language, every aspect of every language can be reduced down to true or and false. Why? Because electricity works this way. You either have a charge or you don't. Memory stores values in the form of zeros and ones. And either this bit is charged or is not. 8 bits is equivalent to 1 byte, which is enough to list any character on the ASCII table. The bits are flipped in such an order that it provides the decimal representation for the character. The computer understands how to translate this representation into a letter. Having an understanding of this concept, the why will make the rest of this a lot easier on you. The tools are all the same, and while they can be learned in any order, this is the order I usually take. Variables. This seems simple enough, but seriously, how do you create a variable? Operators. What are the operators and how are they used? You can assume you have basic math operators, but what about logical operators? Is an and operator spelled out as and or and? Or does it use symbols such as ampersand, ampersand, question mark? Conditional, surprisingly, most read articles for both Swift and Python have to do with decision making. The next thing you need to know is how you can make decisions in your program. Does the program you are trying to learn use the definitional if else, or something more Pythonic such as if else? Does your programming language have a switch or guard statement? Loops. How can you loop through repetitive tasks? Does the language contain for loops, while loops, do while loops, or for each statements? Functions. Is it possible to create functions? If so, how do you do it? How do you include parameters to use and use? Sorry. How do you include parameters in these functions? Knowing how to properly use functions will save you time and make your life so much easier.
Mike, your sound is out if you can hear me. Yeah, your microphone.
Yeah, Mike, your sound is gone.
Hey, what's up, Nagam? How you doing, brother?
What's going on, family? What's happening, baby?
Down here at World Trade at the office real quick, man. Trying to prepare for tomorrow.
Oh, you at the WTC, huh? That's cool. That's cool, man. You downtown. Yeah, we got to link up sometime, man.
Yeah, you said you were at Harlem what now?
If you know where the Harlem Tavern is.
Harlem Tavern?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I kind of like to meet and sit down and meet folks there. So we need to set up some time.
Okay. No problem. I actually might be able to make it this week.
All right. Well, we'll sit down. We'll talk.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pop up on you. Drink some coffee or something if you drink coffee.
Can you guys hear me now?
Definitely.
Yes, we can.
Every day, man. Go ahead.
Oh man, how much did you miss?
Quite a lot.
A whole lot.
I put it like this: you went out when you started going into the spiel about right after functions, right after you showed that little graphic of functions, and you started talking about that. You zeroed out. So
those stupid phantom powered XLR mixer. So that's fine. Any of you all have something you want to contribute to this? From what you've heard, what's going on?
I'll just mention a short little bit from what I heard. Yeah, I mean, I would just say with learning the programming language that if you can solve the problem on paper or something like that, all the programming language is just the like we always say, the vehicle to just really get you from point A to B or C to Z in that fashion. Those functions and things like that, understanding that every language is going to have slightly different syntax, but generally, if you learn a loop, you learn a loop, do while loop, for a loop, if else, all that type of stuff. Functions are always there, and a lot of functions, if you can just write a function or the syntax of a function, those things don't change. I mean, a function is always going to take some input and it's going to give you some output that you can do something else with. So, I saw the one guy in the chat said he wished he had picked up programming very early on. I didn't get into programming really until later on, but it's never too late. And if you can, like I said, if you can solve problems and, you start with one programming language, you start with one thing and you figure out how to do things with that language. And essentially programming it's the same. Programming is programming is programming, just like talking. There's no different way to talk extra specially except to enunciate your words differently or to have a different type of diction, but it's all talking.
Absolutely. Dead on the money. He hit it right in the head. Bang. Nail right on the head. Syntax and stuff, are somewhat similar with some languages. Some are a little different than others, but it's almost like learning a foreign language in so many respects. If you that come from somewhat of the same line, RDMS, relational database management, systems type of programming languages are somewhat similar. You learn one, it's going to be a little easier to actually learn the others. So learning one or two can give you a lot of good access to be able to pick up quite a few others. So that's why that's why there's a lot of similarity, but there's a lot of there is some level of overlap. But as he said, a function is a function is a function, and that's really how that really works. And learning one language can give you access to learning quite a few others. So that's why it's totally within your interest to pick up one of the key languages, really pick them up, learn that very well. That is going to give you an entree for you to pick up a lot of others. And I think that's where it's at. I know programmers who know quite a few languages. They're an expert of one, but they know a good 5, 6, or 7 others, and are very sharp and can operate in a lot of different environments. because they picked up one, they focused on one, learned that very well, and then that gave them access to pick up others. And I think that's very important. You agree with that, right, Cyber?
Yeah, gotta say one other small thing that actually is for encouragement. Think about making a pot of coffee. Like I just told Nagon, we're gonna have some coffee when I hook up with him. So if you think about a pot of coffee, right? Because I saw Engineering Cannabis said it's a lot of math, which is true, but we don't really want to hit people over the head with the math yet, especially if they're not mathematically inclined. But if you think about it, if there were 5 steps to make a pot of coffee, instant coffee with the kind you scoop with a spoon, simple things, heat up, turn on the stove, put water in the pot, put the
Right.
pot on the stove, take a spoonful of coffee crystals, stir for 5 minutes, boom, coffee's finished, drink it. So it's really, that's what you're doing. And computers are stupid. I think, Mike, that's the biggest thing with this type of subject is that computers are dumb machines. They are stupid. And programming is nothing more than the art or the science of being able to tell a dumb computer that can do things really, really, really fast, how to do them and what to do. So,
Man, great points.
Yeah, I mean, computers won't do anything until you give it some instruction. So they for all intents and purposes, most computers want to be domed out.
It's all about a dom game.
Yeah,
That's funny,
man.
Mike. That's
You
true.
gotta put the tablet in the swing. Yeah.
Or put the tablet in the chair.
Yeah. I don't want those tables, man.
yeah.
Get in that closet right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get this thing started. All right, this one is from Dev2. This is actually a very good website for you all to follow. Introduction to functional programming with Python examples. This is giving you a complete breakdown of Python from start to finish in terms of the functionality of it. I'm not going to go into the code writing because I don't have my suite open right now. I need to do a reboot because I got a BIOS update to do. Introduction to functional programming with Python examples. Functional programming is an interesting programming concept which gains a lot of attention lately. This article presents some of the most important aspects of functional programming in general and provides several examples in Python. Functional programming is a kind of declarative programming paradigm where functions represent relations among objects, like in mathematics. Thus, functions are much more than ordinary routines. This programming paradigm can be implemented in a variety of languages. There are several functional programming languages such as Clojure, Erlang, Haskell. Many languages support functional programming in addition to other paradigms, C++, C#, F#, Java, Python, JavaScript, and others. In this article, you'll find explanations on several important principles and concepts related to functional programming: pure functions, anonymous functions, recursive functions, first-class functions, immutable data types. A pure function is a function that is idempotent, returns the same result if provided the same arguments, has no side effects. If a function uses an object from a higher scope or random numbers, communicates with files and so on, it might be impure because its results doesn't depend only on its arguments. A function that modifies objects outside of its scope, writes to files, prints to the console, and so on, have side effects and might be impure as well. Pure functions usually don't use objects from outer scopes and thus avoid shared states. This might simplify a program and help escape some errors. Anonymous functions, Lambda, can be very convenient for functional programming constructs. They don't have the names and usually are created ad hoc with a single purpose. In Python, you create an anonymous function with the lambda keyword. So lambda x, y, semicolon x plus y. The above statement creates the function that accepts two arguments and returns their sum. In the next example, some functions f, in the next example, the functions f and g do the same thing. So f equals lambda x y semicolon x plus y. Define g in x y. So it's going to give you an output and a return of x plus y, because they do the same thing, because f is equal to x y plus x plus y, sorry. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I think the gist here is this is just a rough example of functional programming within Python. So Python is really popular. The questions over the last few weeks have been, well, which languages should you learn? Well, JavaScript and Python are at the top of the list right now. JavaScript for front end and back end on web development, and Python on automation. I'm not going to go into this one. Well, let me also answer the question. Which boot camps do we recommend? I'm not a big boot camp person, so I can't really speak to boot camps all that much, because each boot camp is different for each person, because each person learns differently, and each boot camp has a different threshold and aggression in how they learn and at the pace that they learn. You have to figure out whether or not you're ready for a boot camp. Boot camps are for people who are ready to learn at a fast pace. If you're not ready to learn at a fast pace, then boot camps aren't going to work for you. Boot camps can be expensive, $5, $10, $15, $20,000. But the point of the matter here is, if you're ready for a boot camp, then that is the most optimal place to go to actually learn any of those languages or just coding in general. I only recommend boot camps if you're ready. If you're not ready, then opening up a book makes a lot more sense. And downloading some videos actually makes a lot more sense. So let me share some of the resources. All right, this is Pearson IT certification. We'll type in coding. All right, they're not going to have it. Let me go to O'Reilly. You had something you want to add, Cyberdyne?
No, I accidentally hit my thing, but no, I'm with you on the whole boot camp thing. I really You pretty much just said it. I would take that further and say that boot camps really are kind of like an incubator for people who are trying to get into the pros. If I had to make that analogy, because they're so expensive, and you know, a lot of people went to boot camps, had high hopes, and got served cold, false dreams on a cold dish. And they thought that after they finished this boot camp for like 12 grand, that they was going to end up at Google or end up at some company in this high paying job. And when it came down to it, they got into an interview, they flunked out on the interview. Or if they got past the interview any type of way, they flunked out of the company because they didn't know what that, you know, hockey sticks they was doing. So it does make more sense to pick up a book, you know, sit with that laptop and a cup of coffee or a cup of, you know, juice or whatever it is that you do, and rock out that way. You get the information a lot better, and the YouTube videos, you can take your time, um, you know, and just learn that way, you know. And then, you know, after you've been working or if you've done some projects or something like that, I would say then it would make sense to go to a boot camp. But you know, at that point, I think it would be to learn either more of the language absorption that you're currently learning, or to learn something else like an entree of languages, so that you can showcase that as soon as you get out of boot camp to some prospective high level employer. So
All right. This is the I usually use O'Reilly books, but O'Reilly doesn't sell books anymore. So a lot of their books are available on Amazon. So here, Introduction to Python, Modern Computing in Simple Packages. What we're seeing right now here is frequently bought with Python for data analysis and Learning Python 5th edition. So can't go wrong with a book, regardless of the date. The structures and the syntax is all the same. New features are only added with new versions of a language. So drop this in the chat.
Micro Center got some good books too. All of you all, especially if you have a Micro Center where you live, go hit that. I'm always treasure trolling in that book out when I get a chance. And they have those Pearson books and a lot of other books for the low.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I will point you back to Udacity as well as Pluralsight. Let me go to Pluralsight first. All right, this one is from Pluralsight, and what you're seeing right here is the results of courses for Python. So you got Python here, which is the first result, and then you have Python for data analysts, Python fundamentals, what's new in Python 3.7. So let's go to courses, and then let's go to ratings. And we want to go to like an intro. Let's go to intro. What the hell this? Yep. So it's a beginner. So are you a programming beginner? Maybe you just started, or maybe you've taken a couple of entry-level programming classes and want to learn more of the beginner courses. Here we'll show you the basics of object-oriented programming while teaching you the simple and functional Python programming language. When you've completed this section, you'll be ready to move on to the improving your code quality. So this is from a reputable site, which is Pluralsight. Pluralsight, it's been around a while, been around a good while, so I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, Raxon says he uses DataCamp. Everybody has their preference. It's all about what's available to you locally. I recommend going on Meetup and looking one up in your area, see if there's a Python meetup group in your area. JavaScript is something you can learn in your own spare time. JavaScript is usually roughly a 2 to 3 week time frame for learning JavaScript. So from start to finish, you should be able to write something on the front end for Java with JavaScript within 3 weeks. Thug asks, how much time should you take to read, practice, and learn? Are we talking 6 weeks, 6 months, or a year? It's all about how much time you have available. I always recommend at least 90 minutes a day of reading and studying. Practicing, you should probably spend that on, roughly half of that time. 30 to 45 minutes is it's not a whole lot of time, but it's enough to get something done. That's usually the amount of time that you have academically to work on the practicality of learning the language.
I once had a professor that said, one of my first professors, Dr. Corbin, was a very nice, humble man, wore a sweater, and I was learning Visual Basic at the time in software engineering technology, the short stint I did. And he taught the basics of the program, but then what he would do, he would says, okay, now, and he taught it like he was teaching kindergartens, which was funny, but he was a very smart man. And he said, now after you learn how to do this, the next thing you want to do is do it again and do something and try to do it as fast as you can. Do it very quickly. So we're going to put this up. We're going to make this module, and this is how you do it. It's just like this. It's follow this instruction, and we do A, B, C, D. And the next time we come around, kids, you want to do A, B, C, D as fast as possible, and make sure you do everything quickly, very quickly. And eventually you'll exercise your muscles. And, that's kind of how he taught it. And so to the guy that was wondering about time, to piggyback on what you told him, yeah, there was 90 minutes a day. But after you start getting used to do stuff, try to do stuff as fast as you can, like a race, just like a little exercise, and that'll really stretch you out and condition you over time. So
yeah, this one is from edx.org. Microsoft has a Introduction to Python Absolute Beginner class. In this course, that's perfect for true beginners. Learn Python basics and start coding right away. So Microsoft has made this free on EDX. Enrollment starts today. The length of the time is 5 weeks and 3 to 4 hours a week. So the effort that they're referring to is kind of what I just said a few minutes ago, around 90 minutes a day. And they're saying 3 to 4 hours per week. that's not a, that's right in line with what I'm talking about. So I'll drop that in the chat too for you guys who were asking about this stuff. So to me, I think, these last few resources that I dropped in the chat, I think you guys should be okay with this. If you needed more than that, that's when you start getting into Udacity, in my opinion. You're not looking for a degree, you're looking to learn. All right, let me go to this one right quick. This one is for Udacity, the fundamentals. Establish a foundation in programming and prepare for one of our career paths with these nano degree programs made with beginners in mind. So they're talking to some of you guys who have all these questions. Introduction to programming, Android basics, data structures and algorithms, C++. Let's see. So let me drop that in the chat. I think after you, this is my approach, right? After you complete either the Pluralsight or the Microsoft edx.org course, you want to jump to something like this. And then you can go from there. It makes sense for you to have a clear path of understanding as to what am I trying to accomplish by learning these languages. You can learn all the languages you want to, but if you don't have a clear path on or a clear idea as to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with these languages, it's going to be all for naught. Regardless of what your background is, whether you're coming out of trucking or Costco or, BJ's Wholesale Club, or I don't know where it is that you're coming from, but regardless of where you're coming from, you got to have a clear path as to what it is that I'm trying to accomplish with these languages when I learn them, and what industry do I want to get into. Because what happens here is you're going to go for a job interview, whether it's your first time contracting or FTE, which is full-time employment. And they're going to ask these pertinent questions. And if you don't have an answer as to why you apply for this role or what it is that you're going to contribute, you can't just say, well, I know Python or I know JavaScript, so you should just give me a job. No, you got to have a clear understanding as to what it is that you're trying to do and what your goals are with this learning these languages. I'll drop this in the chat as well. We got complex design on the panel. What's going on, man?
Hey, Mike, what's going on, G?
I'm chilling, man. You have anything you want to ask or you want to contribute?
I was
know you-
listening. I was listening in and out because I was at my brother's pro-am bowling tournament. But now I'm back at the pad. So, I heard you was talking about at Udacity, some of the nano degree programs and stuff. We've been pushing that since early last year. We've been pushing that stuff for a while now. So I think the topic is very apropos, and it's in line with some of these programs that we've been promoting, because you're absolutely right. You can learn languages, but you want to steer it somewhere.
Yeah.
You want to have concentration to take it.
Now you've been in your role for 7 weeks now, doing tech support. What have you learned, and what are some of your concerns in that role?
You know what's interesting, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, what ended up happening with me yesterday, because so I'm in line for a promotion, but in talking with my supervisor, man, she actually wants me to pivot back to my HR functions because there's a recruiter position's opened up. So, but I would say from the technical side of things, getting back into that field after just doing contract stuff for the last few years, I would say that you do have to have it's good to have a working knowledge of how coding and languages work. Not to, and I mean just from like a tech support level, right? On the tech support side of things, it's good to understand the functions of it. So bare minimum or base, it's good to learn languages and coding and stuff like that, just to understand the functionality of it, like as it might pertain to like a problem or an issue, like a software problem or something like that, some sort of bug, that may have infected a device or the operating system or something like that, So I would say that on that level, it's good. I had no idea, kind of getting back into the space that I got back into, I am by no means like a hardcore coder like that. I just know how to like utilize it, but I never like wrote programs and all that type of stuff. I learned coding from web development. You know what I mean? But just understanding like how it works, the nature of it, I mean, that would even take you a long way in positions like tech support and stuff like that.
We got Josh on the panel as well. Josh, do you have anything
you
want to contribute, or some questions you may have had?
Peace, guys. How y'all doing?
I'm chilling, man, chilling.
Good.
It's funny, he shows up tonight on time, but
he's on time today.
Well, when it came to that Southern hip hop,
yeah. I mean, he was nowhere to be found, dude. We was about to shut down.
Oh man, I'm so sorry, man.
well, you don't have to apologize, man. We just gonna not let you live it down. So
yeah, I apologize.
Nah, it's cool.
But as far as like what question you asked, and I apologize.
Oh, I was just asking, from what you've heard, do you have anything you want to contribute, or some questions you may have had?
Oh, nah. I mean, I heard y'all talking about code. I mean, I was just gonna bring up the whole GitHub thing. That's where people are developing every day and coming up with ideas and creating companies based on that. And you can get help from a community, or you can build a community around something as that you're trying to build or accomplish on GitHub or whatever. And it's just good to have a community behind you to help, if you run into issues with the code or just whatever you're trying to develop, people could come together and help. So
what's your idea perspective on boot camps, coding boot camps?
At the end of the day, well, I've seen some of those jobs advertised, and I actually applied to one. I can't remember the name of it and I wouldn't want to, say their name to advertise them anyway because I don't agree with it. But they were basically gonna put you up or fly you and put you up and take you through this coding camp, so to speak, where they pay you like pennies on a dollar to learn, as well as supposedly help you find a job or code with the company. But basically, they were just profiting off of your hard work based on my observation of it. So I didn't see it as a benefit to somebody. I mean, yeah, it'll help you learn to code, but most of the stuff you can learn on YouTube, at your house. You don't need to go somewhere. It was almost like a Job Corps type uh, camp, where they see. I mean, I guess if you don't have any other options, and and want to work for peanuts or whatever, but and learn, you can take that opportunity. But most of the stuff you can find, you can learn it on YouTube. They got plenty of YouTube videos out there that teach you how to do all this stuff. In
Let
my
me
opinion.
let me ask you, what do you think about resources? Because I think one of the go-to sources that I think is just like it's invaluable is Free Code Camp. Are you familiar with Free
Oh, yeah.
Code Camp, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, I have my kids sign up, and it's not that one, but
Mhm.
what's Code Academy?
Okay.
So they go through and do the training. Like I set aside some time for them to go through and do training on Python or HTML5, different coding language, whichever one they wanna, looks interesting to them. Like my youngest son, he likes the games, like building games or understanding how those people build video games because he plays a lot of video games. So
Yeah.
um, I showed them which I can't remember off the top of my head, but I showed them which ones
Unity.
were
That's
related to
Unity.
that.
Unity and C++, but Unity for the game
Okay.
framework. Yeah.
Yeah. And now that you say that, it was C++. I remember him saying, "Oh, I want to learn C++." I was like, "Well, here's the training for it because I don't know C++. I don't know those uh, I would say popular. I don't know those coding languages like that. I have a background in web design. I've done web design, some PHP, but all these kind of new languages, I'm still testing the waters on Python to see what I can do with Python. But yeah, so yeah, I try to push my kids into that, in those training courses online. So,
Yeah, you're kind of like me, where the majority or the bulk of coding, I would say, was like web development related. So it was like HTML, PHP, and SQL, like database stuff. Because if you're building like a dynamically driven website, right, then it's going to have modules that are going to be using like a PHP database or something like that, right? So that was the angle I learned it from. It was very specific to just making websites, and I was developing the Joomla platform. This was maybe 12 years ago.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know what I mean. So that's kind of where I got my coding chops up, but I never took it any further than that. Now back when I was like in high school, me and a buddy of mine, we were toying around with video game development because we were big on like the Sonic the Hedgehog, a lot of the Sega games and stuff like that. And I had a I think I had a C++ book or something like that. I never really got deep into it though. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like with you, where
Mhm.
most of my experience came from web development.
Well, see, we kind of came in IT at a different time. People who did coding, they just did coding. That was it. Network
Right.
engineers, database administrators, all of that stuff was siloed. You didn't really have to know coding. Now they require you to know coding, right? But
Yep.
my thing is, I'm not a big fan of boot camps because it sells a lot of hopes and dreams and stuff like that. Even though some people do come out very well, there are other people who have no computer literacy and get inside these camps, and then they get left behind because they're still trying to pick up the basics of how to install a driver, right?
Yeah.
So my perspective, if I had to do it TBBT style, I would have to learn Bash first.
Okay.
Learn Bash, intro to Linux, learn Bash, and then we'll go into JavaScript, and then we'll go into Python. Because if you can understand how to get around
You cut out, Mike.
Yeah, I was gonna
All
say,
we-
did Mike
all we-
drop?
Yeah, all we heard is if you can learn to get around.
You're gonna cut off, right?
Yeah, he's been having trouble with his, I think, his audio presenter thing he mentioned, but not
Okay.
on him earlier today.
All right.
But yeah, I guess until he comes back on. No, he's right. It's sounds like he's back. You back, Mike? Oh, yeah, he's still.
No, I think he's still having some problems.
No, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
There
you.
you go. There you go.
Yeah, this Phantom XLR mixer, man, I gotta take it back. Yeah, so that's my perspective. I just think that too many people want to jump into the pool party, you know, where all the coders, and it's like that's not the most optimal thing. You don't want to make a big splash and then you can't tread water.
You'll drown. You will drown.
Yeah, just put your feet in, man. Just put your feet in and just kind of dangle around, man. You know, in the kiddie pool, man, you know, the inflatables. You want to hang around the inflatables. You don't want to drown.
Mike, I always felt like you should have an idea in mind in terms of like where you want to apply your coding knowledge, right? Like have like a specific, like targeted venue. Okay. You know, and you give me your thoughts on this, but I've always felt like, so for example, for me, right? I didn't want to learn coding just to learn the shit. It was sort of like, okay, I was making websites and, you know, trying to make, you know, I was really trying to like hack the Joomla platform, right? Because it was an open source web development platform. So I wanted to be able to like really make like custom applications with it. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna learn coding, I'm gonna learn it for this specific reason. Now, what are your thoughts on like having like a concentration or like, you know, having a specific target in terms of learning your coding, like for this venue, like automotive technology or artificial intelligence, for example, specifically for like robotics or something? I mean, do you think that it's good to have like a targeted mark on where you're going to go with it if you learn it, or if you undertake the whole process of learning it, to have a targeted mark so that you're not just sort of like, all right, I'm learning this, but what the hell do I do with it?
Well, you're right. You got to have an application. I kind of missed out earlier on what you were saying. Did you say concentration camp?
No, I didn't say concentration. No, there's this coding camp and then having a concentration.
Stop it,
man. Yeah. You got to have it a focus, right? A focal point as to where this language and these coding skills are going to be applicable to. If it has a fixed focus or a target, it makes it easier for you to see the coding and how it's going to apply to that application, right? To the intended target, which it would be something like micro transportation, something to that effect. It's because now you can whiteboard all your thoughts, and then you can take what you've done on the whiteboard and you can apply it to the code, right? Because now you can kind of write your code out while you're modeling it out on the whiteboard.
Exactly.
I bought a whiteboard from Staples, man. I think it was like maybe $10 or something like that with the dry erase.
In the pack of dry erase markers, and yeah,
it's like 15 inches, 16 inches, man, and it's beneficial. So throw your ideas up on it. Even my new tablet has a pen to it and has a digital whiteboard to it. I can just jot down whatever I want onto it. I'll probably start doing some whiteboarding with the tablet now, now that I have it working. So
Hey, Mike, can I just throw this out there because
yes, sir.
based on what you just asked, Complex. Now that's my, I would say, issue with programming. With I can go through all the trainings. I can, like, I've went through what was the one I went through a Python training before. The issue I have is not knowing where I want the end goal, so to speak. Because I mean, I can understand, I can sit there and learn it, go through the training, learn the functions, learn how to use variables. And I mean, because most of the coding languages are pretty much the same, but I don't have some type of end goal to apply everything that I've learned. I would have to, whiteboard it out, kind of like what
Hmm.
y'all talking about, in order to come up with something. That's where I don't get to the point where I'm ever fully proficient in the programming language, because a lot of times you won't know something, or you won't figure out something that you can do with Python unless you have some type of end goal you're trying to get to, which helps you discover how to do certain things in the programming language. I don't
And
know if that
that's
makes sense,
no, no,
but
no. It makes absolute sense, and I mean
yeah.
that's kind of like why I kind of asked that question and kind of put that thought out there, because that's how I've always looked at it, right? Like, okay, if I'm gonna learn a skill, so for example, um, I'm thinking about like next year, I wanna. So I've done welding before, right? But next year I really wanna like take a course in it and get certified in it, because I want to build race cars, and I want to be able to like build it from the tubing on up, right? And being able to construct something and being able to like design something and construct it, it will really give you the ability to build it from concept, to reality.
Talk to Paul Bryant. He has his own online class.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, and so it's like it's the same thought is applied to programming, right? It's like, okay, you can learn a language, but what am I going to do with it, right? Having an idea of why you're coding something will give you it'll enable you to understand the concepts of the language
Mhm.
better. Okay, that's what it would do, because you have an application in mind. So the questions will be then, okay, if I need this application to do this, what would be some of the most streamlined, efficient ways to write the logic out to do this?
Mhm.
Right? You have an idea to which you can direct this to. So you'll learn it with you're going to learn it with an intention, right?
But
With an intention of application. I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that some of these new cobots, man, that you can buy now, man, they're down to like 10 grand. And you can actually put in specific parameters to actually do the welding for you. I think we covered that on one of these hangouts in
Yeah,
the past.
there's a brother on YouTube. I'm subscribed to his channel. He actually built the damn dude. He built the table and coded it,
Mhm.
like um was it like two act, or like the act, you have the X and the Y axis.
Mhm.
So he built a welding table that does automated welding,
Mhm.
and he wrote the program to control it.
Mhm. Mhm.
There's another guy I follow. He's built an E55 Mercedes engine track car. Literally, dude. He's this Indian dude I follow. His page, I think, is SK815. If you guys want to just put that in the search bar, and you'll see like he has this whole. I think he's like at 22 parts now, where he literally just started it from a blueprint in a computer, right? And he's built the entire car all himself, all in the garage. And he also wrote like the programming for the pneumatic controlled paddle shifting. So
Mhm.
he wrote the program to control it. and he's written a couple other programs that do other functions in the vehicle as well. But again, okay, there's an angle he went with it, right? Automotive applications, specifically race car mechanics. Writing the software to control things. So if he conceptualizes in his mind how he wants something to work. So for example, he built so he's using the Mercedes transmission. Okay, but what he did was he built a pneumatic mechanism to actually shift in sequence. All he has to do is just paddle shift, right? But he had to write the program to make for the system, that the pneumatic system that he built. He had to write the program so that when he pulls the paddle shift, it knows what to do in what sequence, and then it also understands at what sequence it's in. So if he paddles backward, it knows to go from fourth to third. And then he also had to program in the timing coordinates. So like, well, if I pull the paddle, the clutch has to go down first, then the shift, then this, and to program the timing to do it in sequence, as if it was a human doing it, or if it was like a sequential training, for example. So knowing that that's what you want it to do, it makes it a lot easier to write a program for it. I'm sorry if that was completely long-winded, but I'm trying to give you guys an actual example that I can relate to in terms of how you would apply something like this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Complex. That's exactly what I was trying to say. That yeah, you just got to have some type of end goal, and that's why I kind of preach GitHub a lot, because even though you may not know the language, you can always get help on the language if people get interested in whatever you're trying to build, and actually help you or direct you and guide to you, and as well as add to the code on whatever you're trying to develop. And I don't know, just throwing it out there.
I think those are all good things. If I may give a word of advice, because of both you guys and maybe others had said you had, what do I do? What can I do? And so the way that you get around that, or not get around that, the way that you put on the jacket that make that process more comfortable is number one, no programmer, no matter how good or how talented, has everything in their head. We don't. I tell people that all the time. We don't have that stuff. We use Google references and libraries to look at. The other part is that just figure out what you want to do. A long time ago, I was selling some stuff on Craigslist, and of course, I got tired of clicking and doing all this and searching certain places, and so I said, you know what? I'm gonna make this program. I drew out a piece of paper, drew some controls, some things I wanted to click on, and essentially, without thinking about the logic part, right, the programming part, the boring part, I said, I want it to do this. I want it to do that. And I've taught a few people and instructed them and say, well, just like you said, Complex, you want to build a race car, or that guy wants to build, he built a race car. The programming part is the boring part. That's the part that, you'll say A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A to Z. That's actually the easy part, but it's the boring part. The real part is that, what do you want to do? Well, I want my race car to shift like this. And when it turns, I want it to use this or that. Same thing for my little example program a long time ago, or for anybody who has an idea that they want to do something. You draw out what you wanted to do, steps 1 through 10, A through Z, and you write those down. Once you get those, the programming language that you've learned is just like pouring water in a cup. You can fill up all these different cups or all these different pitchers with certain parts of the language. And so it's more difficult if you say, well, now I know Python, I don't know what to do now. What do I do? It's like, well, what would you like to do not thinking about Python? What would you like to do not thinking about JavaScript or Visual Basic or C++ or C#? What would you like to do? You know? And so I had made my little program, and once I did it, I started filling in the parts. I said, well, I don't want the page to reload to do this, or I want to filter out this. And so there were methods, there were statements, there were functions that I, would slide in and put in. And once it was done, it did what I wanted it to do. There's a guy who he knew some SQL. I know. I think Josh, you do SQL, and he was actually good in Excel. And I tell a lot of people, if you're good in Excel out there, that's actually a springboard to SQL, because a lot of Excel's functions are written in the syntax that you would write SQL functions. Not all of them, but a great vast majority of them are written in SQL syntax. So if you guys out there know Excel, springboard over to SQL and learn that. And some guy wrote some function. He wrote some scripts for this medical billing office who they had a hard time taking all their data and feeding it and processing it to their machines. And so he basically just said, oh, I know SQL, went talk to somebody. He looked on Craigslist, look at some of the gigs out there. Actually, that's a good way to get started. Find some gigs that people are asking for this or asking for that, and do it. And just go do it. Once you get used to doing that, it then becomes, okay, I want to do this, go to a foreign country where they don't have a pizza delivery system. They just taking orders by phone. But they could use a pizza delivery system, and everybody uses mobile phones. So, okay, a little JavaScript, a little HTML, a little back-end programming. Oh, and you speak the language. Okay, make them a little order tab that says, oh, Mike V ordered this pizza while he was in Bolivia. And when he ordered his pizza and he swiped his credit card and he put his phone number in, or knew his phone number, it sends him a text message.
Mhm.
Now you've went out and got that piece of business, but it isn't so much of saying, well, I know JavaScript, so I'm gonna go fly to a foreign country. It's like, no, it's really everyday things that you could think to do in your head. I say, pull out a piece of paper, write them down, and pull out your phone, make a text message, and text yourself that idea. Now you saved it. And once you saved it, you can then go back to that text message and start pulling out a blank piece of paper, pull up that whiteboard and start just writing. And that writing grows and it grows. And now you have an idea, and it's the idea that you want to do or perform a certain way. And you just pour in those cups of programming knowledge, you pour in those cups of coding knowledge to do it the way that you want it to behave. And that's how you do it,
Or at least that's one method.
Exactly.
It's one method. Yeah, I haven't had to do a whole lot of programming. PowerShell is like the extent of my programming. And even then, that had a lot of teething issues too. So like I said earlier, when Josh, myself came in the game, people didn't really code like that unless they were actually coders. That was an actual role. Now you're asked to do that, add that to your responsibilities to your role, is coding. In my experience, I might have only done 10% this year of coding in PowerShell. 10%. And that's the extent of it. I haven't done a whole lot of coding because I didn't have to. So if I'm going to code, it's going to be something that's meaningful, not something I just do in my spare time. I don't like to do things in my spare time that doesn't generate profit. So that being said, again, my recommendations is like intro to Linux, Bash, JavaScript, and then Python. If you want to be a front end developer, you're going to have to use JavaScript at some point, front end and back end. For a full stack developer, you're going to need Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Perl. So that's like the base standards of a full stack developer, right? Or a full stack engineer, at the very least, is Linux, Apache, MySQL, and Perl. And then you can throw Python in it to use the functional classes that we talked about earlier. I think what's happening here, like I mentioned before at the beginning of the Hangout, is that sometimes I think people are being overwhelmed with some of this information, and they're saying, I got to learn every single coding language, or what do I really need to know, and how much money will I make off of it, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you're a trucker or a former trucker and you're trying to get into IT and you're trying to figure out coding, my advice, man, is to really sit down and think about what it is that your end goal is. Are you trying to get into IT? Are you trying to just build an application? Where are you trying to go with these with this agenda?
That's why I asked that question, man. Like, you know, do you think it's important? Is really, you gotta, and this is just my opinion on this. You gotta have an idea in mind where you want to go with it.
Yep.
I think Mike put it real good. That was an excellent slice you did, Mike, because there's a difference, right? There's information technology, and then there's the real world or private practice. Actually, that's both in the real world, but there's the private sector, right? And I guess to really bring vividness to your question, Complex, like Mike said, if you're trying to get into information technology, that world, that neighborhood typically is, some is in the private sector with some services doing some IT work, whether it's application work or some support, some type of support work, or supporting some type of system as CCM, something like that, or some servers, or it can be in the enterprise world, developing applications for big corporations or supporting some of their enterprise level services, servers, SCCM frameworks. But then, there's what I say the private sector is that you understand some level of programming and you're able to just go and do something. And the reason I say that is because, for our folks out there, not everybody's gonna eventually end up in IT. That's why I'm glad Mike made that distinction. If you're not looking to get into IT, get into some company, but you go and do these things that the Black Brain Trust is giving you, these references, these udacities, these links, you're not wasting your time because you can learn these skills. And what did we say, Mike? Africa with the phones, the digital revolution over there. That's a very vast field. And if you are able to create something, you can go over there and do a meet and greet or talk to someone and say, hey, I made this, I created this. And you can do that. And so, don't focus and say, well, I learned this stuff and I can't go get a job. No, you can learn these things and create your own opportunity, but there are two sides of that coin, as Mike put it. So I hope that kind of helps and fleshes that out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Complex has an application that he wants to actually focus on rather than for his daily role. So that may be where his concerns are.
Yeah,
I mean, for me,
well, for me,
man, I dropped it. I don't know if you want to check out the community tab. I put a link to a video where I did kind of like just a project update. So myself and Anti-Gravity, we're working on actually like a rideshare platform, similar to like if you live in some of the bigger cities like Bird scooters, for example, right? So there's a whole IoT based software stack that you use in order to basically do fleet management and logistics. Okay. And I did a video basically it was a quick one. And Mike, let's try to like do a legit one, dude. Like a legit IoT kind of demonstration with this stuff. Cause I got all the components here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we could do something Tuesday. Well,
Oh,
what
man.
about next Sunday?
Next Sunday works. Next Sunday
Okay,
works.
okay, yeah.
All right. So, you know, and it's like for me, this is what I need this type of knowledge for. Right. So I'm gonna learn what I need to learn for this, because this is something that I have all the physical components here that I can touch. So I have a literal application for it. You know what I mean? And this is why I'm saying this stuff is very important. Um, and you know, one of my partners, you know, one of the development group, well, they're based in Frisco and in Canada. You know, we're on a Slack group, and this is kind of like it's a daily thing, all hours type of thing. You know, this is kind of like the nature and the environment of it all. So that's why I can't stress enough the importance of having a target. What are you going to do with it? Get that in your head first. And it doesn't have to be very specific, but all you have to do is, and Mike alluded to it, and so did Brother Cyber here, it's like automotive, IT, cybersecurity, cloud development. I'm going to drop a couple links here. One is for Google's cloud development platform, and I'm going to drop another one for their app developer console. So these are like tools, man. And you got to understand the majority of people are walking around with an Android phone.
Yeah.
I think one other thing, and that I think you're doing the right thing, Complex. I'm really happy to hear that. I actually thought about doing a rideshare app for some unnamed country. I won't name at this point. I just don't have the time to do all
Well,
that.
why don't we just hit me on the hit me up, because we can use that for that. Well, we can use it for that.
Okay, I'll hit you up, because there's another brother, but it's we'll talk later on that. But it was just
Okay.
like, I'm just like, man, I didn't have the time to. A rideshare app is a very involved effort, especially if you're dealing with, you know, geographies and locations. But no, I was saying, you know, compliment you. You're doing all the right things with just going out there and doing it. What I wanted to say real quick was that I think one item that doesn't get talked about, and I know the Gone will appreciate this, is that especially if you're gonna go out there and do something on your own, negotiate a good price for it. I learned, that was a lesson I learned a very long time ago, is I was just so happy that I can make something and somebody needed it, and I didn't know how to like price it. And then it wasn't until years later that I was making all this stuff and people needed it, and they always tried to lowball me more, I mean, less than what it was actually worth in terms of the time or the skill to be able to give them some service or some type of product. So the other part, you know, folks, is that while learning the technical aspect, don't become a wrench, and not, you know, don't be a robot. You know, learn to be a little business savvy as well too. With
Yep.
your learning of the technical aspect, that part gets left out, and people assume we don't know any better. So
Good stuff, man. No, absolutely. Because there's just, and I just posted the link there. So that's the link to all of the developer suites for all of Google's primary platforms.
Yep.
You know, it's also being entrepreneurial, because see, the thing is that there could be some sort of code stack or an algorithm or something that you can write, and it literally be licensed for millions. So you would also want to kind of look at yourself as a business, you know, like kind of having that mindset too, because what if, and I'm saying what if, because I've found myself, you know, as a contractor, and I've never really thought of myself as that, but an opportunity presented itself, and because of what I know, hell, you know, doing contract stuff. See, so, you know, companies operate on contracts. So it's very smart, you know, to really kind of think of it, you know, in a very much a business position too. Like, you know, it's really just good to think of not only the technical side, but you know, what are all of the opportunities? Maybe the best scenario for you may not be just being an employee. You know, that has to be considered.
Yeah. For the sake of this discussion, in coding, I got a lot of emails from people that were just like, yo, you know, what should I know? Where am I going to go with this? You know, you're overwhelmed. You're overthinking this. We got to go back to the basics, like we were talking about earlier. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? What is going to be the end goal? You know, and where are you coming from too? Because that will also determine what your learning path may be. Some people are visual learners. Some people are audio-based learners. They can just listen to a lecture or listen to other people talk and they can grasp it almost immediately. A lot of people are visual learners. They have to see it being done first before they can actually apply it to their own knowledge base. So I say, you know, follow up on the links that we have posted in the chat, and make sure you you know, don't invest $10,000, $20,000. That's just not. It doesn't make a lot of sense if it's not going to have a return on investment. There's a lot of I know in predominantly Black neighborhoods, at least here, we have free boot camps for coding. So I would check that out first to see if it's something of your liking. I've talked to several people here locally, and especially BWs, and they go to these coding camps and they like, you know, I don't feel like I'm learning anything. It's because you really didn't have a passion for the technology to begin with. If you don't have a passion for it, you're not going to learn anything. It's like you hear a lot of verbiage, but you're not seeing it for what it is because you don't really care about it too much. You know, you just heard about a lot of money being involved. That's not the business. That's not what we do here. So make sure you have this sort of hunger, you know, for the technology, for all these fourth industrial emerging techs coming out, blockchain, coding, AI and cloud computing and 5G and so on and so forth. That I talk about this stuff a lot because I have a lot of interest in it. And so I learned a lot about this stuff because I do a lot of reading. And plus I'm involved in the industry myself in several other areas. And I work for several startups last few years. I work for a pharmaceutical startup now. And so I've been in the startup sector for quite some time, the last 5 or 6 years, and have seen a whole lot of moving pieces, acquisitions, and mergers and things of that nature. So I've seen how things move. I know what some of these companies are looking for. They want a generalist, and they don't need an expert. You're not supposed to be an expert at JavaScript. Like that's just something that you do. Python is just something that you do. But network engineering and cloud computing and cybersecurity and stuff like that, those are going to be your daily 9-to-5 focus. Your responsibilities are going to entail all of that, right? No one just gets hired because they know Python. No, Python is just a part of a larger overarching scale of what you're going to be doing responsibility wise. Oh, my mic fell out.
No, you good, Mike.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you just fine.
All right.
I was looking, shit, I'll have to maybe find it and then post it in the comment section of this video when we're done. But because I was sitting there trying to find the channel for the brother who built the automated like CNC and welding table. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was a CNC. Or plasma cutter or something. He built it in his garage and in his shop. I was like, damn. And when he started the build, some company that gave him like the actual, some company hit him up to provide him the components to do it, because you know, he has like a large subscriber base and a lot of people check him out from all his other projects. I came across his channel when this dude pulled an electric motor out of a washing machine and slapped it on a go-kart.
Really?
Dude, yeah. I've been fucking with him ever since.
So what how do you change gears with a washing machine electric motor?
No, it's no gear. No gear. It's just you can you just run it directly to the axle.
Mm-hmm.
But
Propulsion.
I mean, he was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna pull an electric motor out of a washing machine and slap it on a go-kart. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what? Hey, let me check this dude. And he's done all kind of projects, like just random stuff. But he's an electrical engineer by trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, electrical engineering is a great degree to get.
It really is.
I started off in electrical engineering, man, and I was more of an IT person than I was an electrical engineer. So I took my credits and just went straight to IT. But I wish I could do it all over again, man. I probably would have done electrical engineering or computer engineering
Yeah.
all the way. But
Yeah, I mean, look.
Electrical engineering is tough though. Oh,
yeah, it
hey.
is. It's very, very tough.
A
Is that
lot
my
of
big bro?
mathematics. I used to see those guys. I see all
Is
the
my big
African
bro
kids.
there?
What's up? What's up? What's up, Stig?
What up?
Man, you baby, you. But yeah, electrical engineering, that shit's no joke. I remember a link called College of Engineering up in Syracuse. I saw a lot of electrician students who were over there, and a lot of them were African. A lot of African brothers were up in there. And I remember I was taking a calculus class, calculus 2 I was taking with integration and all, and those guys were knocking that shit out the box. It was no problem. And I was like, you know, I was okay in math, but man, those guys, you really have to be good in electrical engineering. That was more so like mechanical, you needed it, but electrical seemed like you really had to be really, really, really good, because you were getting into the higher level mathematics, calculus 4, and then parametrics, and then all this different kind of, number theories and all this kind of stuff that you got into. That was really abstract. And then practical engineering, which you had to know a lot of formulas and a lot of different types of things that you had to be really good at. And I thought that shit was very challenging, exceedingly challenging. You had to have a talent for it, not for everyone.
Yep. The alternative to it is electronics technology or CET, which is a computer electronics technician, or computer electronics technology, sorry. They have trade schools that do that. 9 months, 10 months, you can get a diploma from a trade school in that sort of background, and you could transfer those credits to a college that does electrical engineering or computer engineering or electronics engineering. They will accept those credits because as long as the trade school has been what's the certification? Let me see. Yeah. Let me share my screen real quick, just because we're on the subject. So ETA, accredited technical certifications for the ETA International. As long as the school is actually certified by this. I don't think this is the actual certification though. I could be wrong about this. Give me 1 second. Let me double check this real quick. Yeah, so that was right. Anyways, this is the page right here. And you get one of these certifications and you can get a job anywhere on the planet in terms of like SMT, surface mount technician, circuit board electrician, I mean technician. Um, I know the Navy is really big on certification, so at least naval contractors are. So, yep, basic systems technician.
Yes, they are. I can attest to that.
Oh yeah,
So yeah, certification is something that they looking for in the Navy.
yep, yep. So that was the way how I got in to the game academically. I went into to a trade school and got my diploma in CET, and then transferred that into computer engineering, and then went from there to IT, and from IT, and that's where I left off at. So.
Hmm. Yeah, for me, it was always just, it was kind of like on a need to know. You know, I needed to know something. I just learned it, used it for what I needed to use it for. But yeah, I think only it's been as deep as I've gotten into this whole micro transportation thing. Now I'm starting to see where, you know, I need to know things because I have an application for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Oh, actually, let me let me get to this one last piece here. All right, this is from realpython.com. Cool new features in Python 3.8. In this course, you'll get in this course, you'll get a look into the newest version of Python. On October 14th, 2019, the first official version of Python 3.8 became ready. You'll learn about the following: using assignment expressions to simplify some code constructs, enforcing positional only arguments in your in your own functions, specifying more precise type hints, using F strings for simpler debugging. So this is an actual course. So I think this will be beneficial for some of you who are trying to get into Python. Let me share that link. It looks like it's about maybe an hour long. So have something you want to add?
I would, well, I yeah, well, I don't know if I said it, but I dropped the link to the channel of the dude building the track car.
Yep.
And so there's going to be certain parts in the series where he's really just dealing with programming.
Okay. So yeah, you can't really go wrong with all the free stuff that's available, especially the Microsoft intro to Python, the basics. Can't really go wrong with that. Can't really go wrong with this link I just dropped from realpython.com.
Let me post a link to Free Code Camp because you definitely can't go wrong with that. Yo, did Mike? Did he drop? Or did I drop?
No, Mike. The WM has had his foot on his neck all night, man. He's been coming in and
Oh
out.
shit. Yeah, I was tripping, dude. He was talking, and I was like, okay, maybe Zoom crashed on me, but yeah, I think yeah, definitely got his foot on his neck. Shit.
Oh, got his foot on his throat. So, are we still up and running or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're still running, bro.
Yeah, we up. You know,
Oh.
even he said his phantom audio device or whatever. I guess he just there he goes.
Okay,
Coming
wait,
back.
there he's coming back now.
His
Yeah.
Phantom audio is keeping my man the Phantom up in here. Yo, Mike. Mike, are you up and running, fam?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dude, it was like dead air. We was out. I thought Zoom crashed or some shit. I was like, whoa, dude.
Man, I didn't. My whole spiel didn't even. Nobody even heard me, man.
You got to respill, bro.
Oh
you
man,
got to respill or get.
What was the last thing? What was the last thing you heard?
Man, I don't even remember because you've been dead air for a good minute.
Yeah, it was the sound of silence, fam. It was the sound of silence.
Yeah, what was the last thing you heard? You must have heard
Last
something.
Last thing I heard was your ass going out.
Somebody japped. I got japped up.
You got japped up. Shit, what were you saying? Wow. I'm not even gonna.
No, you be cool.
that mixer be cool. All right, let me start again, man. Somebody must have heard something.
Nah, you went out. You started and then it was over.
All right. Let me start again. My recommendation is do intro to Linux. From Linux to Bash. Bash is going to get you acclimated with working in the command line, and then to JavaScript. JavaScript is going to get you acclimated with coding structures. And then from JavaScript to Python, Python is going to allow you to see the application as a whole. And so that is my recommendation. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section after the live stream is over. If you're trying to get in IT for the first time, we do offer IT mentorship. If you're trying to go from one IT role to the next, we do offer IT coaching. If you're trying to get your resume reviewed and overviewed, we do offer that. Salary negotiations. If you're in the tri-state area and you're looking for a new role, you're trying to find a contract, short-term and long-term, Nagone 11 does have recs on his desk. Nagone, how many recs do you have for the month?
Right now, open recs, I've got about 15. Mm-hmm. 15 open recs, and I'm probably going to get about another 5 or 6 maybe tomorrow. So I'm dealing with the guy over at a bank, Carlo Pezzoli, who's a really sharp guy. I've been knowing him a lot of years, and he's got some heavy duty stuff going on. But it's back end development, back end game, a lot of data, a lot of speed, a lot of stuff. So we're going to need some really strong C++ and some C# guys. But I wanted to ask you also, Mike, what about awk and Perl? How do you feel about, because I know you deal with Bash, awk, and Perl. You suggest that as well?
AWK is awk, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awk and Perl. I think those are further down the line. Those are more of an intermediate languages. So you really wouldn't be talking about awk or Perl until you got past just the basis of intro to like. Totally agree. I'm not. Totally agree. I'm just. That's somebody who's already experienced 3 to 5 years of experience in system engineering or something like that. Okay,
all right. Because you would talk about Bash, and that's something that comes up pretty early. But I've got some. I definitely got some pretty interesting recs going right now. But a lot of stuff for C, Java, JavaScript right now. And I have a couple of one-offs. I don't think I'm going to really be able to get through here. So like I mentioned, some actual coding in Sybase, some back-end Sybase stuff, and some Sybase DBA stuff, which is really weird. So I don't think would be up on that here. But it's
an older person would know Sybase, right? Somebody who's in their 40s would know that.
Somebody would, and it's relational, it's similar to some of the other, RDBMS languages. Somebody who's good in SQL could possibly, scale in that area. But there's some DBA stuff on the back end, so that's a little different. But real strong C# developers right now is really kind of what I'm really looking for. People out of a banking, more finance background. Healthcare is not going to really get it. Somebody in banking who's dealing there, and also who's got some skills in JavaScript. Somebody who can also play a little on the front end GUI, a little bit play there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of interesting stuff I have going on, but that's what's up. Anyway,
a lot of those recs are probably going for like legacy banks. Legacy banks are slow to move. They're like an aircraft carrier trying to do a 3-point turn.
I would say you're right on the money on that. And the banks, that's why I say there's a lot of new stuff coming up with the cloud and all that. We like TrackPhone and a few other stuff. Jobs I have, some recs I'm getting from them that are like right cutting edge stuff right now. But as far as the banks and so forth, they're coming up to speed, but they still got a lot of stuff going on that's older, going back 10 years and stuff like that. Been moving up, and banks are not as fast or as quick to totally turn over all over their technology. Like TIA Craft is another big insurance company. They just started doing some really key upgrades a few years ago in an Ally Bank and so forth. They started to upgrade, from where they were, and some of these guys are still messing around, believe it or not, with Oracle and some of the Oracle. I mean, back with Oracle 12, and so it's. Oh
man, you can't get off of those systems. It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah, it is. You guys would be shocked as to the super cutting edge boys as to what's really still out here going on. And yes, with some of the older banks and some of this government stuff, you're still dealing with COBOL, CICS, and BSM. You're dealing.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice.
It's wild out here.
Yeah, you don't have a choice because those systems, they have a long life cycle. Oracle 12, Oracle 11. They have a long life cycle, 3 to 5 years for each version. So you factor in, if you stretched it out 5 years for 11, and then you moved on to 12, and then 12 has another 5 years cycle, you talk about 10 years of the same application.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
There you go. That's the frustrations, but that's going to keep you getting paid. That's what these banks have a lot of mugger for. They're gonna those recs that are sitting on the gold's desk, nothing less than 75K.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Everything that I'm looking at is 75 and above. And I tell you, with Sumitomo Bank, with the blockchain developers and so forth, we're going 2 and up. So really, it's kind of almost write your ticket type of thing. And I've got 2 guys in there right now interviewing. Let's see what happens.
Now, when you say 2, you mean 200 grand and up, right?
We talking about 200 froggies, baby.
Okay, just checking.
200 froggies, fam. So that's kind of where we're, and that's just like on the base, and we're not talking about since it's backing up a key profit center. We're not talking about the bonus situation, which could be, but a percentage of what that whole enterprise brings in. So you could be looking at $1 million and up. You don't know. So this is highly butter laid for a techie. Highly butter laid.
I recommend contracting to all you entry level guys. Get your feet wet, get in, get out as soon as possible. Um, if you're successful, Nagone is successful as well. He doesn't get paid until you get paid. That's just how the game is.
Yeah, that's a fact. Or unless, you know, I can, you know, get an executive search fee where they'll pay me a fee to do the search.
Mhm.
So I'll get, you know, 5 or 10 grand up front.
Mhm.
And then, you know, that means if I don't get anybody or they don't, you know, get this thing done by a certain time, I end up having to give that money back, which
Mhm.
I'm not doing.
Man,
So,
listen here. Check this out. Brothers, give that brother Nagone your support. Don't be going to LinkedIn to everybody else. Black Brain Trust has Nagone 11 right here. Its own personal recruitment in person. Give that brother your support. Put some money in that brother's pocket because he's gonna make sure that your pocket is looking good too.
Oh, it's all about the pockets. Let's keep it. Let's keep it a buck. It's about the money. So yeah, it's all about guys getting paid, you know, and the brothers. What I'm really trying to say, and what everybody says here, and thanks, Cyber. But like everybody's saying here,
Mhm.
the tech game is a big game. There's a lot of money here, and I'm just going to say this from what I can see, where all the jobs are going to be, where all the new jobs are going to be really growing up. The tech sector is going to be overloaded with this.
Mhm.
I think we're moving towards a more technical society. I think that's what's really going on. And for those who are seeing it, are going to be riding the wave well ahead, and those who are not seeing it are going to kind of, you know, be on the side looking for that UBI or whatever. So I'm just saying you gotta see what's going on here. To me, this is exceedingly clear. This is very clear. This is not hard to see. I think Mike and these other guys are into it. And let's say tech is not only moving to, you know, just on the tech side, but it's going in everything, aerospace and everything you're thinking about. So I just want people to keep their mind on that, because you know, the society is changing over the next 20 years. 20, 25 years, we're going to be in a very technical society. And that means literally from menial jobs to the top level stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to piggyback on what Cyberdyne just said real quick with regards to utilizing a resource such as someone who is like a recruiter, for example, you know, versus, you know, trying to like, you know, like do, you know, well, I'm not going to, you know, just their business model or anything, but, you know, knowing a recruiter who has job requisitions that fit your specific skill sets, what that does is that always enables you a direct into a position.
Yeah. And I recommend contracting on the entry level, because that's going to get you the opportunity, and you're young, so you don't have to worry about a vacation. What you've taken a vacation for? You're too young to take a vacation. Take a vacation when you die. I'm saying here, you get that 6-month contract, you get that 9-month contract, that 12-month contract. You're good as long as you perform well. Things are going to work out well for you. Works out well for Nagone. They're going to say, hey, I like that last guy. I might be wanting to bring him on full time. Nagone gets an extra cut out of that because he goes full time. That's a part of the deal, whatever is written in the agreement. Everything works out. You get a steady salary. Nagone gets his little cut out of it, and that's how the game works, man. I like contracting because it's more money involved. I get more money per hour. You know, you're in New York. It's not uncommon. A contractor might get $120 an hour.
I gotta agree with that, man. You know, I went back to, you know, just regular old kind of, well, you know, tech support, corporate work, you know, and, you know, it's a lot different when you're a contract. Let me say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did it for a number of years. It's a young man's game.
Yes, it is.
To be honest, I would still be in that. Well, I would be coming home from Afghanistan right now if I would have stayed, if I didn't have a family. So it's a young man's game. You can't spend your you know, if you got a family, it's hard to, you know, stay away. Your relationship gonna suffer, you know. So
yeah. It's a childless man's game. So you know, 21, 22, 23, bringing in 80, 75, 80 grand a year, man. You in the top 25 of black men in America.
You're rocking. They're
Facts, bro.
young cats who are doing this, man. I got one guy on, Patrick Harrison. He's really strong JavaScript, Java developer. Dude is butter laid. And I mean, he's a young dude. This dude, I got to say, he's 27, 28. But he's about 80, 85K right now. And that's not including bonus. And he's cruising along. Where's this guy going to be in 10 years, man? It's, man.
That running his own firm at that point.
You know, I mean, you know, and he's just cruising. I mean, he's cruising along. Big, tall, long-headed dude. Just stepping around. He chilling. I'm like, look at this. You know, we looked him up. I mean, he's a sharp guy. You know, he's got tall and kind of lanky. He's kind of funny about how he goes about his shit. But this dude is on top of it. I'm saying brothers who are in IT, man, you got good programming skills. You're going to work. I'm just saying you're going to work. You're going to work. I don't know what more to tell you. It's just that's where you're at.
And
that's where things are
one
going.
One thing we can't forget though as well, if you're young and you're making that type of money, invest in a financial planner to help you set yourself up for the future.
Go to CFP.net.
When you 20, because I made money when I was 21 years old, 22 years old, and I was trying to ball out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't ashamed to say it. I messed up a lot of the money that I had when I was younger. So invest in that financial planner to try to set yourself up for the future. Because you ain't gonna be young forever.
Man, use your money to make money.
Back rubs and bubbling bathtubs, man.
Exactly.
Back rubs and bubbling bathtubs, baby.
Use your money to make money. Is Mike trying to talk again?
Yeah, I don't hear him.
Yeah, he might have dropped out again.
I notice every time his hardware goes out, you can't even see his let me see something.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it might be like some connectivity issue or something.
Well, it's on like automatic. It goes on automatic mute too. I'm looking at it, and there he goes. See, now it's unmuted, so we probably finna hear him again.
What's up?
See, there it goes. Yep.
Yep, there he is.
No, it didn't die on me. I just I stepped away. So I put myself on mute. But
shit. Oh man. All right, whatever.
Nah. I can tell when it goes out. It tells me that it's going out. But yeah, man, I just want to throw this out there too, man. If any of you guys are trying to, you know, build an application, you know, you trying to work on some IT stuff, you got some questions, don't worry about paying me a consultant fee. I'm offering my services for free. Any difficult questions, man, just throw them at me. I'll answer them either via email or over the phone. I can help out in those areas. I've been doing this for quite some time, so I'm quite accustomed to answering difficult questions.
That's a pretty good hook, Mike. I agree. I wouldn't charge either. But I would say if it's more involved, obviously it's as we say, something we take offline, but no, I wouldn't charge a fee. But it you know, if it's obviously something that's you know, I don't believe in stealing ideas, but I'll give ideas out. You know, I'll give a free one, quote unquote. Somebody out there got a busted program. There's a free one for you all. Somebody out there has a busted language program that they use to talk to people in the Caribbean areas, and it has all types of bugs. I forget the name of the program, but they tried to leverage Google Translate into a way that where you know, let's say if Complex was I don't know from Brazil, and there was a young lady somewhere else. Well, anytime that you would text, it will go through in the other person's native language, but it has all types of bugs. It works pretty good, but it's got like a lot of bugs. And, you know, yours truly, Cyber 7, didn't feel inclined to really reach out to help them to better the service. So there's a free one for you all out there. To if you can do that, you'll make a little money, because that person, I think he gave subscribership for free to maybe the first 10,000 people. But I said to myself, you're not gonna make any money off of it if the program's broken, you know, images, all types of bugs, but it works. But there's a project somebody could start on right away and build something and advertise it and make some money off of it. So there you go.
Yeah. Nagone has a $500,000 of Rex sitting on the table. They're not going to fill themselves, man. They're not going to fill themselves. So we can talk.
One job is damn near 200,000.
Yeah.
You figure that. One job is damn near 200,000. And that's basically what my day is comprised of, is really trying to just grab and find people for that, because I'm trying to go where the money is. Just one gig. So I mean, this is serious shit, you know. And I'm getting a lot of stuff, and I have to begin to service everyone properly, because then people start to, you get what's called the law of diminishing returns. You know, the more and more you get, the less you do, and then you have problems. So you want to make sure you know, we hit everything. But there's some really big stuff out here right now. And you know, this blockchain, I must be frank with you guys. I myself didn't anticipate blockchain over the last 2 years moving as fast and as big as it is. I myself did not anticipate moving at this level. I'll freely admit that I did not anticipate. It's rapid rise like this. I didn't anticipate it.
A lot of guys, a lot of guys say they're selecting the manosphere, but we got Rex that are unfilled. How select are you?
You know what? Can I say something though? Can I add a shameless plug?
Go right ahead, brother.
And this is actually for Nagone. So I put it this way. For everybody out there and everybody who listens to this or shares this, and you down with, you know, what the Black Brain Trust stands for, you know, I'm gonna plug you shamelessly, Nagone, because you're here, you've been here. I know you're a founding member of the Black Brain Trust, very reputable group and very reputable person. And so, you know, with these recs, if people out there are down with what the Black Brain Trust stands for, Nagone 11, you know, you are essentially a trusted advisor without, you know, coming out and saying it. You are a trusted advisor because of the platform that you're on. You're on the Black Brain Trust. It's reputable. People know what it is. People know what time it is. They know what it stands for. They know what it's about. So everybody who's in agreement to what the Black Brain Trust stands for, to have a resource, you know, here like Nagone 11 in the real world, in a good pivoting position to put interested people who are capable, able, and willing to lend themselves to be better, to do better. He's a trusted advisor, and so yeah, I'm going to give him the shameless plug to say, hit him up, and whatever he got in store for you guys, you know. And then the other part is, he's one of us, you know. He's somebody who can relate to us. He's not gonna play you because you know, nothing out of the Black Brain Trust, you know, nothing comes out of the Black Brain Trust like that. It doesn't have that type of reputation where we sizing guys up, or it's been known to size guys up and play guys. And so with that said,
No need for that.
Exactly. It's all green light. So yeah, I'm gonna hit you up with the shameless plug. Heard Mike V. That's right, brother. You know, we got to support, and we talk about support our own. We talk about the community. That's the community right there. So they need.
And I'm not the only one. You got Mike here, who's a ridiculous resource, ridiculous in his knowledge. You've got Lionel, ridiculous resource.
Cryptocurrency.
You know,
hit him up.
You've got, you know, I call him the Stig now, but talking to Man Complex. You know, ridiculous amount of knowledge, ridiculous, you know, resource on a few different levels. I mean, we've got a lot of brothers here, you know, who are definitely on top. We have Dr. Phoenix, who comes rolling through, who is another tremendous resource on the healthcare side, you know, and a mentorship angle. Paul Bryant, a lot of other. I mean, just I don't know. Hopefully I'm not missing anyone. I mean, it's just everyone here is a resource. That's the name of the game. We're looking at this thing as not only a business, but a way to kind of start to get people moving forward and launching folks out from here to put people on different tracks. This is about actionable information. I know there's a lot of entertainment and stuff going on in the manosphere, and I have nothing to say about that. I do have some issues with some of the derelict stuff going on, but aside from that, people having entertainment and all that, it's great. I have nothing to say about that, but I think this side here, we want to make sure that there's information that's actionable, where people can actually help to really improve, their careers, where they can make career changes, where they can literally look at different stuff and get in on where we should be. We should be in on this IT. I know everybody's not going to want to mess with it. I understand that. But for those who certainly have a tremendous interest in getting involved in this area and really profiting from it, this is where we have to really look at. We got to look at this very heavily. I was looking at Mike. I was talking to Mike about his career and how he started out. He was putting computers together, and he went to school and got his GED, and then decided he wanted to get more serious and got into a whole different angle. And look what this guy is now. I mean, it's just like, you can make a lot out of this in a relatively short period of time, a couple of years. So, we want to put brothers on the right track here. And one thing I have to say this, I must say this: we come down on brothers a lot, but brothers are smart. I'm talking to a lot of young guys. They're smart. These guys need some direction, but their brothers are smart. They're not stupid. We're not stupid. I just want to put that out there. We're far from it. All right. So
the ball's in you guys' court, man. They're getting your mind right, getting your money right. The ball's in your court. Nagone has $500,000 worth of recs sitting on his desk. And can't find enough brothers to fill them. It's not fair. It's not fair to blame other people, man, when the opportunities are sitting right on the table.
There's literally money sitting on the table. There's money on the table. $500,000.
I mean, and you got to put it like this: these white guys ain't stepping to the plate to the level that you think. I'm getting few white Americans. So I'm sitting there saying, if the white boys ain't here, brothers, there is such a void. The void is bigger than you can imagine. It's a void of unmitigated proportions. You have to look at how big this thing is. You can fill it easily. This could be easily filled, and regardless whether they don't like black guys or not, you could be the blackest thing walking in the room. But if you got certain coding skills and certain experience, you're going to work. That is where it's at. Cyber can tell you, a lot of these other guys can tell you what's going down. This is what's going on. I mean, it's what's going on. Yeah, there's racism. Are there going to be people out there that are not going to like you? Yeah, and hell, you want ice water. That's always going to be a factor. But at the end of the day, is it the factor to stop you from getting extremely live out here? No, it is not. It's not a factor at all, in fact.
Yeah, let me answer this question real quick. Ijisa says, can you maybe on another chat talk about how so many brothers start out in engineering, but by midterms, so many drop out and turn to business majors due to lack of support networks? Yeah. If you didn't come in with NSBE, man, NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, you're probably not going to complete it. NSBE is your support network. They're basically a fraternity in terms of Black engineers. If you did not affiliate yourself or get with those guys, or get with those people, I should say, from the very beginning, man, yeah, you're toast by midterms. I've seen it personally. I've seen it myself many times. Many Black BMs come into the enrollment, and by after first semester, they're done. They switch to something else, man. Some of them doing window washing now, Cliffhangers. I think that's the name of the company over there out there washing windows, man. So off the side of buildings. So yeah, I can relate to that.
You know what's funny about that question is because I tell people all the time I'm a businessman who just is really good with technology and love science. And so yeah, I mean, I have a corporate finance background actually, but I was always geeked out, cracked out with technologies and bugs and science. So, you know, for some of the folks, if you end up going the business route, actually one of the other people outside of my cousin, who was a self-taught master programmer, was in the military. Now he does these big bank initiatives where he instructs them on how to keep their high technology right. Was my finance professor, my first finance professor, when I was locked away. And I was lucky enough to get in private school. He always had a book ledger in his hand every night when he would come to the, come teach class. And he would always say, other than that, you should learn how to write a program. If anybody's interested, shameless plug, learn how to write a program. And what he was actually a programmer, but he was a CPA who did finance, and he ended up becoming a professor. And so,
is his name Boyce Watkins?
Nah, he was an older eccentric WM with a linty blazer jacket, but he was a very nice man. And he always talked about how he had to balance this ledger, and he would go and write this program that helped him balance the ledger. And he always slid it. He was slick. He always slid it in, and he was like, yeah, we can write a program for that. Learn how to write a program. But anyway, back to the lesson, and he would go to his lesson. So, if you, I kind of have a gripe, to be honest, with business people, because of unrealistic expectations that business people of today have with technology. I think they're spoiled, and they're so spoiled to the point that we've gotten to the point where technology is like the microwave effect. So whatever you want, it's just like, okay, if you push a button or a few buttons, you get it. But people don't understand that everything that's simple shouldn't necessarily be simpler. And a lot of business people want push button this, push button that, and they don't want to deal with any type of complexity, or they don't want to know any type of details. They just think, okay, just push it, it works, push it, it works. And it's like, you know what? And while we're talking about coding, because it's relevant, there's a science to it, there's details. And if you're too busy to be dealing with details, then you need to go find a dumb robot that you can push buttons that'll do what you want to do and solve your magic problems for you. But that's for another day. But anyway.
Yeah, I heard this multiple times in the field. I don't care how the sausage is made as long as it tastes good. And that's the wrong answer. You should be involved in the code. So, I mean, I agree with you. Exactly.
Or some detail. Yeah, some level of detail.
Yeah.
We do code analysis, right? I mean, I think that would probably be the extent.
Yeah. Yeah, that really irks my bones. It's you can see that it's still evident, because people will be like, oh, well, this project's not going like this, or the project's not going like that. And it's just like, well, if Mike V has specific details to tell you about, this thing, and you don't want to hear the details from one of your top people, but then you don't know, you really can't make the best decision. You want people who just, oh, go do it, get it done. But it's like, well, we have to tell you this. And if you're not listening, then business people have these unrealistic expectations in this new era. So I'm a big fan of the old school business era. I respect the new business, but I'm a big fan of, Neutron Jack and Jack Pepper. He was a personal mentor of mine. All the old school guys from the business era who believed in details, they believed in the handshake, they made deals on a napkin, and they kept their word. And they did what we're telling you all to do, which is take advantage of the resources at your disposal, which is what the Black Brain Trust has for you. And I'm with that. So,
yeah, let me get to this last point, and then we'll close out. Jesus says, bro, I remember being in circuit analysis and watching the whole class taking notes intensely. Now, me, I have never been a note taker, but I remember thinking that, damn, I must be dumb as crap, because I never understood what the professor was talking about, only to find out later that no one knew what he was talking about. They were just taking notes like a bunch of drones. Some people take notes because it helps them ingrain the information back into their brain because they're physically writing it out. So note taking is beneficial for some people to remember. certain aspects that they may not remember later on down the line.
There's some science behind the notion that transcribing something allows you to remember it
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah, it etches
Because-
it etches into your brain.
Yeah, because
I think Complex has a phantom mic now,
it's
just like I
sensory.
do.
The phantom bug.
Wait a
Mhm.
minute. Hey, wait, am I there now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. No, I was saying is what it does is it etches it into your mind in two ways as opposed to one, right? Like if you just go off of, you're going to go off of an auditory sensory input. So that's going to be memory, right? Through the sense of hearing. But if you transcribe it, then you're using two senses, right? So there's touch and there's auditory. So you're actually remembering it from two inputs instead of one. So that's where note taking, whether people like believe the shit to work or not, like it's scientifically proven to work. It's really just a matter of writing notes in a way that is relevant to you. Like how you remember things. Like, do you have to write a whole sentence or do you just write down points? Shit like that.
Yeah. I think
Take a
sometimes, yeah, I think sometimes people fall into the category of borderline ADD, and so they drift off and they forget what's going on, and they're not really up to speed on on what the professor may have been saying or what somebody else may have been saying, the instructor or something like that. Take a rubber band, wrap it around your wrist, and snap yourself every minute or so during a lecture. That helps to basically force your brain to pay attention. Same thing with your index finger. If you pinch the index finger nail tightly, it actually helps you focus, refocus on what you're supposed to be paying attention to.
I use chicken scratch notes.
What does that mean?
It's something I've done for a long time. Because I had a 8th grade reading teacher who forced us to write the cursive alphabet perfectly, and if you didn't write anything in the cursive United States alphabet on any paper, plus he was my basketball coach, but he will flunk you and give you an F automatically. It had to be Mr. Hunt. It had to be perfect cursive. So when I got out of that, and I would write my English papers, obviously I defected from it. I was rebellious. And so my English teachers would be like, I can read this. I really can't read it, but the parts that I can read, it seems pretty good. So it was good writing, you get an A. And so ever since then, when I'm writing something, when I used to take notes in college, I take notes. But I do literally like doctors print, like doctors, it's a mix between cursive and print. But I write basically chicken scratch that only I can read the shit. and that it helps because I'm used to reading chicken scratch, with letters and stars in front of it. So whatever works.
Yeah. Let me close out because we got a cannabis live stream we're going to do in about 20 minutes. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if you have not already done so. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. If you want help getting into IT as a first job, we do offer IT mentorship. If you're trying to transition from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching. If you need your resume looked at, an overview or a review, we do offer that. Salary negotiations, we could talk about that, as well as if you're in the tri-state area and you want to find a contract in IT, Nagona 11 does have Rex on his desk. So make sure you get in touch with him. Other than that, shalom.